You say your kids are 13, okay. So, this happened about 10 years ago when I worked at the box office of a movie theater, before automated machines were the norm. Adult tickets, 14 plus, were $11.99, kids, 3 to 13, were $9.50. And kids under 3 were free. I had a woman come to my till with 2 kids. Now, these kids looked to be about 15, though it can be hard to tell sometimes. As many kids don't carry any kind of ID, the rule of thumb was to sell either a kid's ticket or adult ticket based on how old the adult told us the kids were. Many people would abuse this and say the kids were 13 in order to save a few bucks. Typically, I didn't care as I understood the prices were pretty high. And this was a big chain, so a few older kids getting cheaper tickets wasn't a big deal. What was different this time is that the woman was very rude throughout the whole transaction. We have a series of questions we have to ask throughout the transaction, loyalty program, etc., and we would randomly get scored by mystery shoppers to ensure we were following the script. This woman was annoyed and short with me throughout the whole transaction when I was being super friendly and just trying to do my job. When we got to the part about what kind of tickets she needed, it went something like this. Me, how old are the kids? Her, why? Me, so I know whether they need kids tickets or adult tickets. Her, what is the difference? Me, adult tickets are for 14 plus and are $11.99, kids tickets are for 3 to 13 and are $9.50. Her, oh, they're 13. Me, okay. And which film would you like to go see today? Her, whatever film it was, I can't remember anymore. Me, okay, no problem, for 2 kids and 1 adult that will be $30.99 total. Her, actually, I am not going with them, I am just dropping them off. Me, unfortunately, this movie is 14A, which means you have to be either 14 or accompanied by an adult to see it. Her, well, they're 14. Me, you just told me they're 13. Her, they're actually 14, I just didn't want to pay the price for adult tickets. Me, unfortunately, you told me they're 13. Unless you have ID that shows they are 14, I have to assume what you first told me was correct and cannot allow them to watch this movie unsupervised as it is 14A. Her, this is ridiculous, so what are my options? Me, they can either go to a different movie that is not 14A, or you will have to buy a ticket and accompany them to this one. After a lot of back and forth about options, she finally decided to bite the bullet and buy an adult ticket to accompany them. I like to think she spent the next 2 hours reflecting on how her attempt to save $5 ended up costing her $11.99 and 2 hours of her time. Realistically, she likely bought the ticket, accompanied them into the theater, and then left them there to watch the movie while she went shopping. Either way, it still cost her the extra $11.99 for her ticket. Now to the comments. I'm a very petite adult. I have a very tall kid brother, but I'm old enough to be his mum. I remember taking him to a museum with my little niece. He was just under 13, which was the adult cutoff. I asked for 1 adult ticket and 2 kids ticket. My kid brother towered over me. I got a lot of side-eye and flack, but I was telling the truth. In college, my fiance's 14-year-old sister and I went to a movie. Bought 1 adult and 1 youth ticket. Gave me the youth and her the adult. Looked at each other and laughed, totally could have gotten away with 2 youths. First time I bought booze at the liquor store, brought everything up to the counter and set it down. Fella reaches his arm out, scoops it all out of reach, and says, I hope you have ID, because you look like you're 13. I bought hard liquor a while ago as a present for someone, don't drink myself. I'm 30 years old and the rule here is that everyone under 25 has to ID and 18 is the legal age to buy. So I go to the counter, want to pay, but she requests an ID. I don't mind showing it, so I get my ID. She looks at my birth date, pauses for a second and then giggles a little and mumbles something like, I'm sorry. This doesn't happen a lot, but mostly because I don't buy alcohol. At work, just started a new job, people who haven't seen my resume think I'm fresh out of university and ask whether this is my first job and such. Can't really blame them. So I just gently let them know that I'm more experienced than they think, my age. My 12-year-old daughter is already 5 feet 6 inches and I'm sure I'm being judged. Ducking hell, 5 feet 6 inches at 12? I'm nearly 20. And I'm slightly smaller. And I'm a dude. FFS, somebody give me the height please. Vanitas stole it from you. In our cinema a few years ago, your ticket was only checked at the security point entrance to all the cinemas, past the ticket booths. So, you could watch whatever movie you wanted to, once you get past the security point. If it wasn't a busy weekday, you could see how many seats were available for each movie at the ticket booth. You could just go and watch whatever movie you wanted, and no one would bother you about moving. My friends and I did it once or twice to skip the age restrictions, and I doubt they've ever done anything to fix that system. At the theater that I worked at, it was pretty easy to do that, unless someone said that you were in their seat. We had assigned seats. You chose the seats when you bought the tickets, but then you were supposed to sit in the seats you had chosen. So, if someone said you were in their seat, and you refused to move, they would go get the usher, who would check both tickets, and tell the person who was wrong to move. Just check on the app right before going in, it will show you what seats are still open. I was kinda on the other side of this type of thing years ago and really annoyed the theater people. We went to a midnight opening of some movie that had been hyped up. It was probably garbage, but my wife and I like to do the midnight movies occasionally. There are these two younger guys looking heartbroken as the attendant pulls them out of line and tells them without an adult, they can't go in. As they pass me, I look up and say loudly, "Danny and Jack, are you all going to see the movie too?" They were clearly confused as their names were probably not Danny and Jack, but said they were getting kicked out because they didn't have adult supervision. I told the attendant that they were my nephews and I would supervise them. The attendant, who knew I was lying, was not happy, but let them in anyway. Like 40 different people in line gave me the nod. I would probably have done the same, especially if a movie has been hyped up a lot. How the duck do they want to prove they're not your nephews? And technically, would it matter? They're being accompanied by an adult. My stepfather grew up insanely sheltered. His family was Amish, they moved and converted to Mennonite, and he left them at 18. Although he's been quite successful in life, he formally has an 8th grade education and was never part of a high school. That's the way it works for them. So, there were just a lot of things he didn't know. Not his fault. Anyway, on a family movie night I overheard him buying tickets and he purchased 2 adults, parents, 2 kids, my younger siblings, and 2 senior tickets, myself and my buddy who was with me. I was in high school, but not a senior. Freshman, I think. Anyway, after he bought them, I asked why he did that and he said he couldn't remember what year we were, but he was thinking we were seniors. It led to a good laugh and he then understood what senior meant. Oh, that's sweet. I had a lady do that with me when I was 20 and worked at a movie theater back in 1999. South Park, bigger, longer uncut had just come out and our theater head office sent out a notice that we were to fully enforce the no one under 17 without an adult because it was R-rated. Lady came in with 2 boys who couldn't have been more than 9 or 10. She asked for 2 tickets for that movie. I asked which 2 of them the tickets were for and she said them. I'm going shopping while they watch the movie. I informed her of the policy and then pointed to a printed out copy of it posted next to each ticket booth. She was not happy and said she wanted to speak to a manager. I said okay, but he will tell you the exact same thing and pointed her to the manager window. She stomped over, had an animated conversation with him and then stomped back and paid for 3 tickets while muttering to herself and walked to the theater with the boys. The manager came over and said, "I'm going to make sure she stays." Sure enough, about 15 minutes later he caught her trying to sneak out and he kicked them all out.